you've said, in most recent times, it's actually seeming as a millennial thing.
Trend.
That you have a trend. You must plait your hair at some point. You must have a pin in your ear. And now, sometime back, pins for men depended on which ear you put it, that it reflected a certain stereotype. And those are people that are homosexuals. I'm thinking, okay, which ear is it that indicates that it's homosexuals? Which ear is it, by the way? Up to date, I've never even been interested, honestly speaking.
But piercing the ears, these are some of the things that were visible for my parents to see. I wouldn't do them. So they were quite hard for me to do, because I can imagine they finding you with a pierced ear.
Chiboko,
Chiboko?
Highest order.
No, we had graduated from the level of Chiboko.
Hey,
for us,
to
we
what?
Boxed, kicked. So you can, this time would be short. Actually, I can't remember a time.
An African child.
It's only my mother who was cane, who used to cane.
Yeah.
But for us, we had graduated. Once you grow a bit, boxed, kicked. In terms of piercing the ear, you're short.
Well, to sum this up, we're going to move from, sandals, house sandals, then it moved to some wires, TV wires, then mingling stick, and so on and so forth. But anyway, we are throwing back to the times that were in memory of how we actually grew up in school and back home. And we start off the day with a smile. We also start off the day by looking at the stories that have actually captured the wave and media and people's phones and conversations in the different groups and communities. And we'll be looking at the Katikkiro of Uganda and his response to investment. Kampala is the commercial capital of Uganda, and over the years, the city has attracted massive investment from local and foreign investors. These developments have not only spurred social and economic growth of the central region, but also contributed immensely on Uganda's economic growth. The Buganda Premier, Charles Peter Mayiga, who was gracing over the launch of the Starbucks International Stock Cafe at Lubiri Mengo, persuaded investors to work with Buganda Kingdom in order to gain more leverage. His sentiments were re-echoed by Haji Hamis Kamkomo, the Buganda Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Industry. The Katikkiro of Buganda has positioned Buganda Kingdom as a brand that investors in different sectors of the economy can leverage on for sustainable growth and development. Charles Peter Mayiga, however, cautioned investors who go against Buganda Land Board rules and regulations of getting land titles. Away from that, Parliament has approved the report of the Committee on National Economy to guarantee Uganda Development Bank to borrow euros 15 million from the European Investment Bank. The report to guarantee the Uganda Development Bank lines of credit was brought to the National Economic Committee of Parliament for consideration for the House to pass under Rule 1722B by the Parliamentary Rules of Procedure. The first leg of the report involves borrowing euros 15 million from the European Investment Bank, US dollars 10 million from the International Islamic Trade Financing Corporation, and 20 million US dollars from the OPEC Fund for the International Development, and another 20 million US dollars from the Arab Bank of Economic Development in Africa. The borrowing is aimed at capitalizing Uganda Development Bank to enable it finance both small-scale businesses and large-scale investments, despite of the 450 billion that government invested in Uganda Development Bank at the height of COVID-19 pandemic. In other news, the Departed Asians Property Custodian Board has released a list of Asian properties that have been illegally acquired by individuals across the country. The secretary to the board, George William Bizibu, said the full list has been availed to the Parliamentary Select Committee of Commissions, statutory authorities and state enterprise for investigations. The secretary to the departed agent's property custodian board, George William Bizibu, says government is losing trillions of shillings in a major scam where close to 10,000 properties under the departed agent's property has been fraudulently acquired by top business personalities and leaders in government. He disclosed that most of those involved in the illegal deals claim to have powers of attorney by the original propertiers and in question, but the board's visit to London and Canada to establish the source of attorney disclosed that all the powers of attorney were a hoax. Bizibu said that to make matters worse, those claiming to have powers of attorney have no management contracts and evidence of remittance of rent to the owners and tax clearance certificates. He further disclosed that government spent over US $1 million to the tune of $2 million as compensation to some of the proprietors of some of the disputed properties. The Energy and Mineral Development Minister, Mary Chitutu, has assured the country that her ministry is working with Electricity Regulation Authority to resolve the issue of fluctuated tariffs for electricity customers. The minister told the members of parliament on the Committee of Natural Resources today that she has already tasked ERA to provide an explanation after her ministry received complaints from different parts of the country. The Ministry of Energy officials were appearing before the Committee on Natural Resources to defend the 1 trillion shillings budget for the financial year 2021 into 2022. And finally, closing on the local scene, State Minister for Primary Health Care, Dr. Joyce Morichu Kaduchu, has warned the public about the negative effects of the ongoing heavy rains. She wants Ugandans to ensure good sanitation and hygiene, among other measures. The ongoing rains are good for farmers, but without observing hygiene and sanitation guidelines, waterborne diseases might emerge. The Minister of State for Health, Dr. Joyce, says floods can be habitats of germs that cause cholera, bilharzia, and typhoid. The State Minister has played her role in eradicating malaria, and she says vaccines have been availed to handle any emerging infections as a result of floods. Recent research findings indicate a decline of diarrhea infections across the country due to provided vaccine. Kaduchu says even though government has worked tirelessly to boost health services in the country, there are 12 districts that are still affected by these infections. And she requests the local government leaders to sensitize and create awareness about hand washing, keeping homes clean, and avoiding self-medication.
Story as well, we'll be looking at Alexei Navalny, and thousands across Russia also come out to defy ban on protests. Now, thousands of people around Russia have joined the authorities and rallied to protest against the detention of jailed opposition leader Alexei Navalny, and they are calling for Navalny, who has been hung on a hunger strike for 6 weeks, to receive proper medical care. More than at least 1,000 people were reportedly arrested. Navalny, 44, was jailed in February, and demanding for medical attention for acute back pain and leg numbness. The largest protest was in Moscow, but others took place in major cities across Russia. Now, crossing to India, Delhi High Court criticizes ridiculous oxygen shortage, and the highest court in India's capital, Delhi, has publicly criticized the central government for its handling of oxygen crisis in the city. Now, the country reported at least 2,023 deaths on Wednesday, its worst daily toll. More than at least 200 of those were from Delhi, where hospitals forced oxygen shortage. And of course, the court was hearing petition by the owner of 6 private hospitals. It ordered the government to ensure safe passage of oxygen supplies from factories to hospitals across India. This is ridiculous. We want to know what the center is doing with regard to oxygen supply across India, and the judge said while reading out the verdict, adding that it was a responsibility of government to beg, borrow, steal, or ensure oxygen supplies. Now we'll cross over to Africa, where again we'll be looking at Chad's main opposition party says the army appointment of President Idris Déby's son as the nation's new leader is an institutional coup. Nadebi, 68, who had been in power for the last 3 decades, died after being shot as he battled rebels on the front line. Now the rebels also too have objected to the move, saying Chad is not a monarchy. The Mahamat Idris Deby, is also known as General Kaka, was in charge of the presidential guard and is to lead the country for 18 months until elections. The government and parliament have been dissolved, but constitutional experts say the Speaker of Parliament should take over when a sitting president dies before organizing an election. Well, monarchy or not, clearly this gentleman is going to be taking charge of Chad. Some of these countries, Priscilla, we normally just hear of them probably through football players, you know, but I think we must also take this morning to thank God for the peace that we enjoy in this country and for how far He has kept us. Amidst all our challenges, there are things that are guaranteed in the Pearl of Africa. We pray that they never even come close to being known to us. Aren't you glad you're Ugandan?
I am definitely glad to be in Uganda in such a time and season as this. I'm pretty sure you equally are. Now, as you are, Felix, you did a story about Nevelyn and how she has been on a 6-week hunger strike. What is the longest hunger strike you have ever done?
I don't stretch a myself when it comes to eating unless I don't have food.
No, but you have fasted, you have done the 40 days.
40 days?
Hey.
First, you see how we fast. I don't fast those things of not eating the whole day. But why would I?
So for you, how do you fast?
Do I fast? That's the question.
Okay, that's a good question.
Yeah,
okay, all right.
But I fast maybe without intention. Sometimes when I'm so busy, I can go a full day without a meal. Then I realize and even like, oh, but this intentional, I tried, I think, a couple of times, but
you realize it's not your portion.
Man. I don't have the nerve, honestly speaking. Yeah, it's a bit tricky. But you see, earlier as I asked you the question about, aren't you glad you are Ugandan? It's something that comes from the Bible, Priscilla, that because we are purposed, we are destined as well. You have heard of that saying?
Yes.
Yeah, that whatever was purposed by God was definitely destined.
The predestined,
and probably you're not by mistake blessed to be Ugandan.
No, definitely not.
Exactly. So you will be in a place where you ought to be when you ought to be there, because that's a fulfillment of the divine purpose for you. So today, we want to remind all our viewers out there, be glad you're Ugandan. Even amidst the trials, they're simply bad. As they say, that you don't hate the game, hate the player.
The player.
If there's anything you don't like about Uganda, hate the people who put in some of these things in place. Don't hate this country. Love this country. Stay firm to the fact that you are Ugandan and be glad that you are, because that's where you're purposed to be.
Well, speaking of Uganda, as always, we talked about it yesterday and we will campaign for it today. Buy Uganda, you will be building Uganda when you do that. And we do have a Ugandan product here by Hallelujah Reflexologist, and they have chosen to take care of our Ugandan health. And they have come up with drinks, a tamarind drink, and they've also come up with a ginger tea drink. Now, these are amazing for you because they do help you to actually get your immunity up and boosted. In such a time as this, the cold is here, it's a rainy season, and you can easily catch a flu. You can easily get malaria or bilharzia, as we were reading from the stories. And so some of these drinks actually go a long way in preparing your immunity system to be able to fight for you when the bad morning does come through. So get yourself one every single day. It can be morning, afternoon, evening. There's no really schedule for you taking it, because the good news is that they are tasty. Now, for me in particular, I go for the tamarind drink. But away from that, remember that you are predestined to be somewhere this morning, working, going for a meeting, sleeping, cooking breakfast.
You know, sleeping is different from sleeping.
Uh-huh.
There are people who sleep and others who sleep.
Educate me. The difference
We'll
being?
start from there when we come back after our song.
I believe the difference is the similarity.
No. You'll be surprised, by the way.
Are you serious?
Trust me, you'll be surprised.
Okay, when we return, we'll definitely be looking into that on our social media platforms. I'm pretty sure you have a lot to catch up on in terms of what's happening around you, socially, economically, and otherwise. Now, you can go to our Twitter handle, which is at UBCTV Uganda, hashtag is UBCGMU, and follow up on the updates as they come in real time. Equally, on Facebook, we are streaming live UBC TV. You can actually get onto your next destination with us alongside you on Good Morning Uganda. And on YouTube, our YouTube channel is UBC Television Uganda.
Now we'll take you to the song of the day. That is Apologize by One Republic.
What do you want to apologize for?
After the song, I will definitely tell you about that. Let's take a break. When we come back, me and Priscilla will take you through our newsroom. But before that, enjoy the song of the day.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by
should we be talking about? But yeah, it has happened a couple of times. Normally, and being men, sometimes we sort of like get lost with our egos, and before we know, it's always too late. You would lose a good woman because of your ego. Probably you didn't think it was right for you to come down and say you're sorry about something. You will lose a couple of friends because of our ego. And actually, when you hear the word apologize, it's definitely matched with the behavior and demeanor of ego and how we deal with our egos. So it's apologizing and ego. You must be able to forsake the other to be able to achieve the other again. So yeah, I must tell you a couple of times, I'll be honest with you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the moral of this conversation and this song, or the inspiration, should be that don't think about it. Don't think so hard about it, because the apology, I think, is sweeter than the ego that you would rather keep.
That's
the
true.
apology will save you in the future. Something else could come up, and if you go by ego, it's going to be building up problem after problem, situation after situation. And yet with an apology, next time it happens, there'll be some sort of lenience, some sort of consideration.
And apology is always for our own freedom of the soul. Sometimes it's better to have a free soul than keeping on trying to be like, I'm the guy.
Yes.
No, you know, I'm right. I'm trying. Actually, I've learned over time that every time you try, you have people in your life, and they're always trying to be right. You shouldn't. That is negative power. People should be in position to learn sometimes to know that they don't have to win every argument, every fight. It's a good behavior discipline to know that it's okay for you to lose sometimes, and one of the ways to accept loss is by apologizing. Yeah, sometimes it's good to lose by apologizing, I think.
Well, sometimes it's also good to reflect on the things that are affecting our community, and one of the rising cases that we saw recently out of the Uganda police report was domestic violence. Now, while domestic violence is been on a rampant rise, especially in the year 2020, we also have seen a rampant rise in sexual violence equally. We did have 6 years ago a protection unit that was actually started by the Uganda Child Helpline, which is under the Ministry of Gender and Social Development and Labor. And they started this to really curb the sexual violence that was going on and was targeting children. Now, when we look at the past year, ever since we went through COVID-19, we actually had a high increase in sexual violence geared towards children. And it's not just sexual violence, but it came with emotional violence, and it came with also physical violence. In different parts of this country, over the last 370 days, we've been looking at these stories, and they have gripped our hearts, you know, with a lot of questions. And one of the questions that would be asking ourselves, was COVID-19 a disadvantage to children?
And Priscilla, even as you mentioned that, I have had people try to bring this, to narrow it down to a casual discussion. And even before, again, as I come to the question of COVID and what, I must also add to what you've been saying, that these are some of the discussions we must engage in on a daily. Yeah. Like the repetition will bring sense to the effect they have on our communities. Sexual harassment, sexual violence is a subject no one else should be discussing than our own selves.
Yes.
All right? And we can't look at it casually. It is grave. It is heinous. It is, in all forms, an attack on someone's esteem. Majorly, it has been castigated more or by far onto girls or ladies, if I may add. And not that the boy child or the gentleman aren't abused sexually or violated for that manner. But if you're to look on a spectrum of 10 or on a trajectory of 10, out of 10 girls, you'll be surprised that 7 of them have met sexual violence, sexual abuse in one way or another, but on a spectrum of 10, maybe only one man has come in contact with sexual violence or sexual abuse. So that's why we don't dare to talk about it majorly relating to women and the girl child. Now, back to the question about whether or not the lockdown as it is, or the COVID-19 as you said, was greater an effect in terms of sexual violence to the children. I would say that is in the affirmative. The presence of COVID-19 and also the mechanisms that were put in place, not just a lockdown, brought an exposure of what has been covered for quite a time. That in as much as we have been living in communities with all these things present, sexual harassment, sexual abuses, sexual violence, just to mention but a few, we have not had time to appreciate the effect, the gravity, the presence of sexual violence in our communities, in our families, in our areas of residence or domicile, for that matter, again, as much as we have. Because during the lockdown, this whole 1 year, we have been put away and afar from the things that have taken our concentration, like attention, work, like like running. We're always busy about nothing and everything.
And that is true. I see it at home. Because you're focused on something and it takes your entirety. You end up, when you go back home, you're not concerned as much about the other things. Nitty-gritties.
And because of COVID-19 and the other ESOPs for that matter, we have had a redirection to look at the things maybe we have not been looking at. We have also taken notice of the things that have been happening just beneath our nostrils. And this is why we are talking about sexual violence being at a rise, yet it is actually at a constant. The report may reflect that it has risen, but that is only because
they are now more aware.
It's just like how you can be naked in the dark. But when day falls on you, people won't be concerned in that because they can hardly see. All they can hear is the voice. Hajari, jari, 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 jari. Now, when they come, they're like, oh, now, that's the same scenario when it comes to COVID-19, that people, the realization of the effect of sexual violence, again, has only been unearthed by COVID situation. For example, we know, you and me know, that women are abused from the time they are born to the time probably they are buried.
They are buried.
And I can tell you, one, you give birth to a Priscilla Narwoga, the world is going to term hers
Sukari.
So you've already narrowed down the doctor, the teacher, the lawyer, the what to?
A bag of sugar.
Now, that's sexual abuse. Let's start there. She grows up in whatever way, knowing that...
and they will not further so much education. No, as long as she can go through university.
Sukari, we're only preparing her for someone to bring dowry and what. Now, even the preparation is entirely linked to someone taking you away.
You've reminded me sometime when I was transitioning to university. One of the reasons I was given for actually doing home instead of hostel was that, no, immediately after school, you're going to get married. So we need to use this time to actually enjoy you before you get married. I said, my mother is saying that's
already like sexual abuse. That's already sexual abuse. And to the latter of the same is that even when you're being married, you know, and I love the cultures we have here, and I respect them as same. That if you're going to be buried, you will go to your husband's whatever side or what. But if you are not married to that point, even if they are going to bury you on the ancestral home, they will not put you among. So you are disrespected or you are abused sexually from birth to death. Now, the society's perception of a woman The reasons why we have, and this is why I've consistently told you and Robert, that one of the reasons why we have gross sexual violence is attributed to culture. Painfully, we love our culture so much.
But Felix, we can't deal with culture, or we can't touch culture, or no, it's not a conversation that can be twisted and turned in a speck of an eye.
And we don't have to. You see, we don't have to. But you see, one thing I want to tell you, I subscribe by far to the Kingdom of Uganda, by practice, by information, and of course by domicile. I've been here the whole of my life. I know more. Let me ask you, how many times have you seen the Kabaka walking in backcloth?
Very few times, I think.
Who's guarding the Kabaka? Is it Bamboa? Or do you see spears? It's only for functions. What am I saying? Does the Kabaka move on Kaliba? He has a very nice car. And I'm not saying they are bad. Culture must transcend to evolve, but not to dilute. You get the point? When you look at the case of FIDA Uganda versus the Attorney General, court was addressing the practice of female genital mutilation vis-a-vis culture. Now, a custom must be qualified by a couple of things to become good law or even good practice. But you can't have a custom that castigates what we call natural justice. When you're talking about FMG in the CBI, in as much as it's customs, what you're saying that we cannot dissect, we cannot also keep customs that promote abuse. You get the point? So that's why the Constitutional Court rendered this practice unconstitutional, and it was not meant to be practiced. Again, when you read the ruling of the honorable judges, and the rationale is that customs must also be in line with natural justice. Now, natural justice is what is God-given, because before God, creation, by the fact that he gave us life, it should be appreciated in equality. Now, any practice that deems the other, that's why we're having sexual violence. For example, is it, and even biblical, I remember last time we were talking about the biblical aspect of submission and what. Even the Bible talks about submitting to love. You submit to love, not by mere fact of you being man.
An order.
You get the point, because now that is in the Moses part, that is in the Old Testament. Even you want to go biblical, that is in the Old Testament. The new law, you submit to love. So the Bible says, love your wives as
love
God,
your neighbor,
also as Jesus loved his church, something like that, as God loved his church, something like that. Because the submission will come from that. Now, back to sexual violence. Communities, and this is something that we must appreciate. You see, police coming out to give these reports is just to tell you what's happening. Now, and this is the most saddening part, that up till today, we are at that level.
Of just talking about it.
Exactly.
Reporting about it.
We have not
being sad
grown
about it,
to the point of evoking institutions. We need a law. We need a law. You talk about, I've seen women on towns of Kampala, people hissing at them. People touching them. People beating them. A stranger beats a woman. You don't know this woman. They're just walking past you because you said something they didn't like, and then you. We must have a law, because we're living in times of enforcement and legalese and what. So, if police is concerned, these reports that come out annually, have they steered to ignite a group of people to hate some of these reports? Is it good enough for us to get these reports?
Is it a matter of national concern?
Yes, who's concerned? And this is something we must throw back to government.
Because I know even the Minister of Integrity, Minister Olokodi, Father Olokodi, just came out and said this situation is absurd for a country like Uganda.
And that's all they have to say. So, even the people who do it, they feel safe. I have seen women whose limbs have been broken, nose have been turned, lips have been worn, teeth, lose teeth. But do you know why that happens? Even the people who are castigators or who are causers or offenders are comfortable because they know they are, what will be done. What will be done.
So
when it comes to institutions that are supposed to do enforcement, as police tells us about police, let us let them tell us about how they have been able, how many cases have they handled, how many people have been apprehended, who are serving sentences. This would help create an absolute image of how the nation or the state is handling issues of sexual violence.
Well, how then do we protect our children? Because until that day where we see policymakers actually coming up with these resolutions, the laws that we are trying to advocate for, until that day comes forth, we're going to be having more children exposed to sexual violence. What would be the current remedy that we can adopt as members of society, as communities, as stakeholders in these children's lives, because they are our future. They are the presidents, they are the ministers of tomorrow.
You see, when a country like ours is faced with such a challenge, it's important for us to understand, again, as we started, Priscilla, what are some of the main causes. Now, then you know where to inject. You know where to look at specifically. The problem of sexual violence, again, is easier handled by the state because then it will be punitive, okay? It will be punitive. What can societies do? For example, societies will cause alarm or whistleblow. Families, the police has a family and child protection unit and all these things, but it's not enough. We need a law. We need a law. We need something to deter. But also, if all these have not yet come, what can we do? We can place responsibility in families. I have learned over time as a father, I must say, that there's something kids say that man can see, man can do. It's easier for you to teach your child something when as they see it.
That's how children pick it up.
And
even as older children, that's still how we pick it up. So you keep saying, I grew up seeing my father doing
exactly.
this.
When I see, I do. When I see, I do, and I learn. Now, what do we do in our communities? I think we must start preparing, and this is a major, major aspect, by the way, of livelihood, away from just these whole things of marriage and relationships. Every bad thing we see in our communities starts from the setup that we have of family. I can tell you, I remember one time the Catholic Church had a thing to do with family, something, and even the Pope had a full year of let's concentrate on the family, regeneration. I remember Pope John Paul the late, now saint, his major focus was on family. Now, let's engage families. Let's fathers, mothers, the evils you hate in societies can only be cured with your children, with the practices in your family. The people you have now in families are the ones who are going to solve these evils. Now, if you do not train them to be better people than what you hate, they are going to follow suit. You hate domestic violence, let your children never see it. Let your children know it is bad. You hate theft, let your children never see you steal or hear of you having stolen. You hate anything corruption, never be corrupt. You hate lying, never lie to them. Let's be the future we want to see. Because not everything that we can get from some institutions, you see, by the time government is dealing with you, you're already gone. But there's a level where we can save some of it. They may sound ancient, but they do magic. Honestly. And the state is not out there to raise our kids. That's where we normally lose it. That's why everything you want to throw to government. Cut government, honestly, what can government do about you beating your wife?
Nothing.
No, I think let's just be honest. Do you want government to come and say, Felix, Priscilla mukubye nnyo, wani mukubye ku tamali eno, kati ante wakubye mu ngolo, and
by the time they come around to your home to make you send that
I think government concentrate on the roads.
Late.
Yeah, let's ask them. But there are things we must do as families. And every time a woman or a man does something, it reflects on the family. This is a role majorly, I think, to our religious institutions, I think, primarily.
And cultural institutions.
And cultural institutions.
Yes.
We must shape society to fit into the things of the society we want. If you're raising kids who are violent, that's the society you'll get. Don't be surprised that your kid is beating up a wife. If you ask him, Gobin Wabijawa, he tata nga yakuba mama. Yeah, so it's a reflection. So let's create societies we want to see by training these people that are in our responsibilities. They can be as far as communities, they can be as far as families.
We employ you as an individual. I think the take home of all is that it starts with you. The change you want to see starts with you and me, and then it will trickle down, because those who see us will emulate exactly what we do. And if it's good, then good will go down the chain. If it's bad, bad will go down the chain. But it also goes to show you that different societies, the way they have adapted, the way they have actually conducted life, does bring into consideration the number of reports that come out from these particular regions of our country. It does reflect on the societal issues in those communities. It does reflect on the moral issues in that society. It does reflect on the religious and cultural influence of these things in that society. And so, as Felix has said, I also employ most especially cultural leaders, because so many people, all Uganda does subscribe to a certain sort of culture. And if the cultural leaders are actually not doing their job to instill discipline and values that add to us as Ugandans, then it's going to trickle down to sexual abuse, especially for children. If the religious leaders are sitting in their councils, folding their hands and wondering how to milk from the sheep instead of empowering the sheep to be better in their communities, then it's going to be a sorry state for the coming Uganda. So the change we all want to see starts with you and me. Let's be the change. Now, speaking of change, we are going to be changing to news review, looking at what's making headlines in the tabloids today morning, and then thereafter we'll be having traffic updates coming through. But Good Morning Uganda agenda at 8 o'clock exactly is going to be coming up, and we're going to be having the Peace Ambassador is coming along. Milton Kambura will be with us at exactly 8 a.m. to have more conversations of national importance. Good morning.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Prosper with Airtel Money today. Agent application and registration is free of charge. All you need to submit as a sole proprietor business is a letter from the business owner requesting for a SIM card and the purpose of the SIM card. Certified copy of Certificate of Registration of the Business issued by URSB. Certified copy of Statement of Particulars of the registered business and supporting statutory declaration in verification of the particulars. Copy of valid trading license. Copy of operational license issued by the relevant regulatory authority. Copy of TIN certificate issued by URA. Valid national ID for Ugandan proprietor or passport for foreign national, including a valid immigration entry permit, work permit, visa, or residence certificate. Colored passport size photograph of the proprietor and handler of the business. Proof of current physical address of the business, tenancy agreement or utility bill in the name of the proprietor or landlord, or LC1 introduction letter confirming ownership and location of the business. You will be informed of your application status within a maximum of 5 working days, still free of charge. Upon successful agent application, Airtel will provide training and customized branding material for your business location, still free of charge. To register, call us today on 126 toll-free. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless. Airtel is regulated by Uganda Communications Commission.
What does it mean to be closer together? It's taking the last bus home for a surprise visit. Closer together is strangers finding a connection. It's bringing home something much more than a box. It's the warmth of home or the beginning of something new. There's magic in sharing the things that we love, because it's those things that bring us close together.
All soda, water, beer, wine, spirits, and cigarettes were gazetted and are required by URA to bear digital tax stamps before they are sold on the market.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
Uganda has been commended internationally for her open door policy to refugees. Today, the country hosts over 1.4 million refugees. This calls for deliberate programs to support the livelihood of the refugees and their host communities. The government of Uganda, working in collaboration with development partners, has through the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, developed the Jobs and Livelihood Integrated Response Plan for refugees and host communities to promote the social, economic and financial inclusion of refugees and host communities. The plan will be launched on Thursday, April 22nd, 2021 at Sheraton Hotel, Kampala, starting at 8:30 a.m. The Prime Minister, Right Honourable Dr. Hakana Rugunda, will preside over the event. Catch a live relay of the event on UBC TV between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m, plus the social media pages of the Ministry and UBC. Attendance is strictly by invitation. This message is brought to you by Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development with support from UNDP.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
It is important to know exactly what's going on around you so that you understand how it trickles down into the nature of business you do and the kind of job that you do and the kind of life that you would have and the kind of things that you buy. They all can be interpreted by what is in the tabloids every single day. Now, looking at today, starting with the Daily Monitor, we get to reflect on news agencies merger. You're having government issuing guidelines for merging agencies, and that is news coming through. So if you do have an agency, you do belong to an agency, you want to start an agency, you might want to consider page 6 for this information. Today in Daily Monitor, relationships at 23, I married the love of my life. 23, they married the love of their life.
And how old is it?
And how old they are, we have to read the whole story after here. But looking at the black and white of the front page, biggest headline, Uganda threatens to expel refugees. Now, we were here talking about it yesterday.
If they don't buy food
If
from
they don't
Uganda.
buy food from Uganda. Buy Uganda, build Uganda.
Yeah,
if not,
if they
get
don't
expelled.
build Uganda, it will be broken. So
you have no houses to stay in or room for you to be accommodated. Okay, and in quotes, which quality has failed? All of you, in quotes, UN officials are eating Ugandan food you buy from the markets here. Why are you thinking of quality now? Refugees Minister Hilary Onek is quoted saying
That man is the man of the week.
The man of the week.
I give him
You give him a star.
He is.
He is. Okay, all right.
He's magnifying refugee issues. So
in Busia, we do have traders smuggling tons of Ugandan maize into Kenya. Interesting to note. In other news, government is disbanding a privatization unit and firing staff. So some people are going to be out of employment for some time. Museveni engages workers over NSSF. Which workers and why NSSF in particular? Okay, there's the Amendment Bill 2020 that has been long awaited with NSSF, and so the president is going to be asking the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development to sort that out and have a final position on it, while we have Minister Matia Kasaija also with his pressures of collecting 41 trillion, billion, million.
Yeah.
Thousands. It reduces. They keep reducing it. By the end of this financial year, I don't know where
if Hilary Onek was the man of the week, I don't know where Kasaija would be. But speaking of the news, Priscilla, we head into the new vision here where we'll be looking at now Museveni summons NRM SEC and Parliament speakership on agenda 2021-2026, new political term, issues about party and country to be also discussed. Now, our government clears DGF, Odongo comes out to mention, F3 study material and tenders for you and deals in Child Fund, Uganda, MC, Elite and Changejo DGL. And of course, inside Makerere University Innovation Magazine there, something for you to look out for. But of course, when we cross over into the paper inside, I know your member of parliament, we're looking at Aisha Sekindi, woman MP Karungu, Henry Musasizi, Rwanda East, Obiga Kanya, Terego East, and Jessica Ababiku, a Jumani district woman there. And of course, Lord Mayor Lukwago here, Lord Mayor of Kampala Elias Lukwago, with here, of course, his wife Zawede and Zawede Lukwago on arrival from Nairobi, Kenya. And this, of course, he did arrive back in Entebbe. And it's a very nice photo here, looking at him and the wife. And of course, today in history, Cardinal Subuga's body to be flown home, and Japanese hostage crisis also ended.
In the daily guide, we are looking at in news, Centenary Bank losing 3 billion shillings in internal fraud. You have Idris Deby's son being named President of the Republic for the remaining 18 months. And then from the archives, there's a wonderful picture of a lady here on a very interesting microphone. I've never seen this design of a microphone. Nafuka Chigozi, a radio presenter broadcasting on air at Radio Uganda. The year was 1959. And she looks lovely, I must say. Today in history, Museveni misses Kagame's swearing in. That was in 2000, April 2022. First eucalyptus trees came in 1886, and that was Uganda's first. For editors speak, they're looking at today Daily Monitor, Today Magazine. They're looking at Mr. Stephen Golova expressing interest in marrying, the story that we were looking at. In the National, they are picking for you the 2021-2022 budget that Finance Minister Matia Kasaija presented to Parliament this week, sharply contradicting the targets in Third National Development Plan and a policy document that gives strategic direction to the country's development.
Well, here in sports, the new vision now, inside clubs eat humble pie, heart of gold. We see here Valeke left receives sewing machines, and people ran to the aid of Valeke, and of course a couple of people she's taken care of. But also Gorola urges sports personalities to take COVID jab, and Kawempe shines, now Nkumba touches on, and rebels eat humble pie. Something quite interesting that I think Ruben is also not coming out to tell us well about this Super League thing. But FMU unleashes 7 drivers for Naivasha there, and also Nigo will stop at nothing to achieve his dream.
In the world of sports, for Daily Monitor, no separation for URF from Vipers, and you get to see yesterday's Premier League results. Mbara could not have KCCA, so they left it at a nil. Neither could SC Villa and URA decide amongst themselves who was better. European Super League, again, same conversation. Bushfires everywhere. FIFA President Infantino has come out to give insight exactly on what he has to say, and for him, he strongly disapproves of the plans that are around European Super League. Sports Summary 2021 has the Olympics in Tokyo, and we have 92 days to go. That's good. Decision on domestic funds is delayed yet again, and yet funds are part of the Olympics. So that is the close of the tabloids as we have looked at them. You can buy yourself a copy or even go online and be able to get a copy of these papers and get to know what is in the deep of them for the 22nd day of April 2021. We do have traffic updates coming through, but also consideration of traffic. There are new guidelines that have come out in regards to the driving permit. And on the specimen, they're giving you the new features that we are going to be seeing on the driving permit, something we will be talking about on the traffic updates. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
The day the world stopped was the day we found where to go. From now on, we're not going to leave anything on our plates, because we've learned to savor the moments that were always there, and they never tasted this good.
What does it mean to be closer together? It's taking the last bus home for a surprise visit. Closer together is strangers finding a connection. It's bringing home something much more than a box. It's the warmth of home, or the beginning of something new. There's magic in sharing the things that we love, because it's those things that bring us close together.
Uganda has been commended internationally for her open-door policy to refugees. Today, the country hosts over 1.4 million refugees. This calls for deliberate programs to support the livelihood of the refugees and their host communities. The government of Uganda, working in collaboration with development partners, has, through the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, developed the Jobs and Livelihood Integrated Response Plan for refugees and host communities to promote the social, economic and financial inclusion of refugees and host communities. The plan will be launched on Thursday, April 22nd, 2021 at Sheraton Hotel, Kampala, starting at 8:30 a.m. The Prime Minister, Right Honourable Dr. Hakana Rugunda, will preside over the event. Catch a live relay of the event on UBC TV between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m, plus the social media pages of the Ministry and UBC. Attendance is strictly by invitation. This message is brought to you by Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development with support from UNDP.
2020 was the year the tourism sector got disconnected. But this year, we reconnect. To leads, growth, to industry experts, to wider markets, to untapped potential. Be part of the first ever virtual Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo and engage with industry experts from around the world. Find out how you can grow your leads, put your tourism business back on the map, and a whole lot more. Sign up for free at www.poate.co.ug/register and reconnect with your world. The Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo runs from the 27th to the 29th of April 2021 and is proudly brought to you by Uganda Tourism Board.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
to actually see interesting things happening. Driving permits as of March 1st, as you can remember, we were told that we're going to be getting new driving permits, and now it is entirely under Uganda Security Company that will be sorting that out. And there's so many new things that are going to be appearing on your driving permit. Now today in the Daily Monitor, they give you a specimen and they are showing you what the driving permit is going to be looking out, the features that you must look out for. And the key features, of course, there will be a QR code on your driving permit. That way, if you are stopped by an offender, they simply use a machine or even their phone to validate your driving permit. Or if it's a fake one, the rule will apply and you will end up in behind the cells. If not, yeah, you'll be sorted out as far as law and order is concerned. There's also the issuer's indication number, which is a major requirement on the specimen that you'll be having as your new driving permit. Now, what this simply means is that there will be that number that will be different from the code that we have been using, and it's going to be tied in with your national identification number. So the two will be correspondence. So when you are going to pick up or renew your driving permit, you will have to go with your national identification card so that they can be able to renew or give you a new driving permit. Without that, you will not be able. For non-Ugandans, you can use your passport to actually get a new driving permit or renew a driving permit. So those are some of the considerations you're going to have to use when you are getting a driving permit. And there's an option of you can actually go and renew your permit. You don't have to wait for it to expire. If you're interested in getting the new one, the current one, then you can actually go and have that sorted out. You can find them at the Uganda Railways just here on Ginger Road. They will be able to handle you efficiently and effectively. That was the commitment that we were given, so we have to test that commitment out with the service that is provided. Now, looking at the traffic updates this morning, we want to see from Lugogo and from Nakawa, where does that take us and what the traffic looks in probably the western part of Kampala. Now we are at Lugogo, and here we do have the Nakawa traffic lights, just having a reflection of what Lugogo looks like this morning. Alongside Lugogo Stadium Complex and Lugogo House, you do have a little bit of traffic that is building up, and that traffic is coming in from the Lugogo bypass, trying to intersect with the Kampala Ginger Highway. And because there used to be traffic lights there, but most recently they're not really as functional daily as possible. So sometimes it is who goes fast and then the other has to follow suit, and that challenges how this traffic actually is conducted. Also, being a rainy season, be aware that this place actually floods a lot when it rains. So with that consideration, it sometimes will build up in terms of traffic. You do have a few red zones here also because there are traffic lights there, and the traffic light has now opened up and getting ready for the traffic around Forest Mall to get moving. But we want to make en route to Nakawa and possibly see how far we can go with Nakawa. Now the traffic lights, there is a red zone that is building up at Nakawa where you do have the intersection coming in from Mubs, also coming in from Bugolobi and coming in from Luzira. Now clearly all the way into Luzira the street seems to be clear, but you get to the traffic lights and then trouble comes for you. And then the rest of the route does have a red line, and that red line is to and from. So if you have to access Nakawa this morning, you definitely want to consider alternative routes. And alternative routes would be Chinawataka, then you have to go through Bugolobi and end up on the Airtel roundabout, and that is if you're getting into the heart of the city. If you're stepping away from the heart of the city, still the red zone. If you do have time, you can be patient, but please remember that there is the Spear Motors Junction that also brings in a lot of traffic. The newly done Ntinda 2 road is easily accessible now, and so everyone is using it as a route, which means that jam is going to be increasing more than we have been seeing it before. Equally, we do have the Nakawa route that goes past Chambago. This morning it's having a red zone that is also building up there because the potholes there have also become something else. Now, speaking of potholes, I had an experience yesterday. The road that comes down opposite Freedom City that joins Nyanama It has potholes. If it's at night, you will not notice that the pothole is actually literally a ditch. If you have a small vehicle, a saloon car, trust you me, the honest truth is that you will need someone to carry your side of the car out of that ditch, and then you can be able to go away with a damaged car. So dear KCCA, I know that is in the precinct of the Kampala City Authority. Please look into that. At least a repair wouldn't be so bad, but the potholes on that road have made it very inaccessible, and it does affect the flow of traffic jam for people coming in from Kabwa, Nyanama, trying to access Entebbe Road. Those are our traffic updates this morning for your consideration, but please do remember to take care of your motor vehicle or your bike for that matter. Did you know on the market we actually also have electronic vehicles now, and we also have electronic borders. So in case the fuel prices are annoying for you, I had the pleasure of looking at the fuel prices this morning. Shell is selling at 4,020 shillings. Now that is high. From all the way 3,800, it has been the highest. There's some areas that had it at 3,670 as a fuel, that's diesel in particular. But now it's at 4,070 shillings. And that is just people who are being considered. Elsewhere, you're having it at 4,200 shillings. You have it even higher for some high-end regions, and so prices are high for fuel. Diesel is now at 3,600, 3,700. That is the range there, and even that is still high. So you can consider to buy an electric car. You don't hear it moving on the road, and it is rechargeable by electricity. It has a power charger. Some do come with the power chargers. Some do actually do solar charging, and so it's both. If you have run out of power engine, then you can actually use fuel. With that consideration, it should make your life a little bit easier with the fuel prices. But also boda now. Yes, there's an electric one. I sat on one. I said, Mzee, I'm not hearing this, and mama naguze mpya. And I was very, very impressed at how technology has actually advanced and could make Ugandans' lives better. We do have Good Morning Uganda agenda coming up. Felix Nkunda will be hosting the Peace Ambassador, and we will be eager to hear what they have to talk about.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Uganda has been commended internationally for her open-door policy to refugees. Today, the country hosts over 1.4 million refugees. This calls for deliberate programs to support the livelihood of the refugees and their host communities. The government of Uganda, working in collaboration with development partners, has through the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, developed the Jobs and Livelihood Integrated Response Plan for refugees and host communities to promote the social, economic and financial inclusion of refugees and host communities. The plan will be launched on Thursday, April 22nd, 2021 at Sheraton Hotel, Kampala, starting at 8:30 a.m. The Prime Minister, Right Honourable Dr. Hakana Rugunda, will preside over the event. Catch a live relay of the event on UBC TV between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m, plus the social media pages of the Ministry and UBC. Attendance is strictly by invitation. This message is brought to you by Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development with support from UNDP.
2020 was the year the tourism sector got disconnected. But this year, we reconnect. To leads, growth, to industry experts, to wider markets, to untapped potential. Be part of the first ever virtual Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo and engage with industry experts from around the world. Find out how you can grow your leads, put your tourism business back on the map, and a whole lot more. Sign up for free at www.poate.co.ug/register and reconnect with your world. The Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo runs from the 27th to the 29th of April 2021 and is proudly brought to you by Uganda Tourism Board.
Wake up to Good Morning Uganda, weekdays on UBC.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by was brought to you by
No one should stop you from finishing what's yours. That's why MTN gives you data bundles that don't expire. Load MTN Freedom Bundles using My MTN app and enjoy the freedom to finish your data bundles.
MTN.
The day the world stopped was the day we found where to go. From now on, we're not going to leave anything on our plates, because we've learned to savor the moments that were always there, and they never tasted this good.
What does it mean to be closer together? It's taking the last bus home for a surprise visit. Closer together is strangers finding a connection. It's bringing home something much more than a box. It's the warmth of home, or the beginning of something new. There's magic in sharing the things that we love, because it's those things that bring us close together.
Experience 100% 4G speeds across Uganda with the Airtel 4G Pocket Wi-Fi available at 123,000 shillings only. It comes with a backup battery and 15 GB free for 1 month. Visit the nearest Airtel shop, device selling shop, or Airtel online shop. www.airtel.co.ug/broadband-discover. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Daddy, surprise! Here is a pizza for you. Happy birthday to you. Daddy, you look not impressed.
My daughter, this is not meaningful to me. Alleluia Natural Drinks is my ideal gift today.
Hallelujah Day. Hallelujah Ginger Tea Drink and Hallelujah Tamarind Drinks are the most perfect, nutritious and healthy products that help everyone to boost their immune system to get complete relief of most sicknesses like joint pains, cough, diabetes, blood pressure, easy digestion, and many more. And certified by UNBS. For orders, find us at Bifro House on Sir Apolokagwa Road, opposite MBI. Hallelujah Natural Drinks, perfect for your health. Hallelujah Day.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning once again. It is Good Morning Uganda on UBC. Now, today is also one of those days where, again, we are drawing closer to 1st May, a day where we celebrate Labor Day, if I'm not mistaken, a day that we bring into notice the efforts of the people who wake up every morning to make a change and add a brick onto the building of their nations, of their societies, of their communities, but also their families and their livelihoods. Now, ahead of such a day, we want to discuss some of the things that mostly affect labor, all right, now being either formal or informal. And this is something that is quite a topic of interest for every one of you, all our viewers outside there, that when a country would change, there are things that determine the kind of change a country shall appreciate. And first, we have picked onto the aspect of education. And the big question is, how can education, again, be used as an influence to trickle positive change in terms of social economic development? and the others. And with me to discuss this very wonderful topic is my brother, my friend, my colleague, Milton Kambura, also the Peace Global Ambassador, if I've said it right. Yes. How are you, Milton?
Quite okay, sir. Thank you for the invitation, special invitation to me, sir.
It's good to have you today.
Thank you.
It's been long.
Yes, please.
What have you been up to?
Of course, we have been busy as usual. The country went into elections. Yeah. We have been busy stabilizing the country, the region, and of course our youth mentorship programs, family strengthening programs, education. So, and I congratulate you, sir, for such huge investment.
Thank you, thank you.
And you keeping your brand and your smartness and your alertness to serve the country, sir.
Thank you, Milton. How is everything? How is work? How is the family? How are people? Because it's been quite some time, and normally when we meet, we want to discuss a bit of this before we dive into education. So how are people?
Our people are okay. COVID-19 came, but some of us used it as an opportunity, actually, to actually dive into new narratives to disrupt both the economy, so that we keep earning. That was something that we are telling our young people. We have pushed a lot of young people into recycling in Masaka, and we're expanding in Kampala, so that the 600 tons that we produce here every day can be able to be recycled to produce these tables, the chairs, the doors, the windows, and also not just having showrooms and offices in Kampala, but taking the product online. So it's something that I learned. I closed many offices with my teams. So we went virtual. We have summits who have had more impact on the people than before. Wow. So that is something that I want to share with the country today. And as we go now closer to Labor Day, we have to now use the opportunity of the disruption of COVID.
Okay.
What have we learned? What is the future economy looking like? What are the problems that should shape the type of curriculum that Uganda demands and Africa?
Okay, and that will sort of like cue us in our topic of the day, where we want to look at education and how education must be used to form, to cause, to drive, to incite some socio-economic development. A country like Uganda is yearning to limp into the middle income state, but the drivers of that part of it should be education. And this is where I want to bring my first question. What is your stake, what is your comment about Uganda's current education system?
First is that when we inherited this country from the colonialists, we did not have a discussion like the way you have asked me such a professional question to see how to negotiate the future. What is the contribution and that unique integration of all tribes towards shaping a new society. What I must start with is that with a poor quality education, of course, will produce poor quality population. And a poor quality population cannot build a vibrant economy that can actually propel what you're talking about, is a middle-income economy. We will just talk about it, but such a quality of population cannot help Uganda and Africa to achieve that statement, that vision. So the status of Uganda on education is still poor, and that's why institutions like National Curriculum Development Center, we need to invest in them. We have to recruit the right people. We have to give them the tools. We have to navigate now into the role of the private sector in working with education, because they are the ones driving the country. So they must tell the Ministry of Education the type of worker they want in the next 20 years, the next type of products they demand, and all this is from education. The role of the parents, what is their curriculum, because now I have to say that education is no longer in the classroom now. Education is in the field. So at home, it's also another type of classroom.
It's in a school, yeah.
But the parent is the parent able to understand that exactly everyone is a teacher now. Don't call yourself a king if your people are poor quality. Don't call yourself a local council one when your roads and everything is disorganized, polythene bags, conflicts. And so we have now to get the paradigm shift of mindset that says, okay, education has changed. The church and the mosque is a school in itself. But what is the message? Is it the other message? Chitwale. Now God is calling us in the 21st century to call for 21st century competencies, new products, new business designs.
Yeah.
So that because people, when they are poor, they are going to ban us. Look at how border borders have taken over the city. You just see we don't have a city in Uganda. When you are in the city, you just see borders are too much unregulated.
So Kampala is what?
It is like garbage. If I have been coming in the morning very quickly, I just realized we are in a mess. You just see old cars. You just see Chikajo, the man with the bicycle with the sugar cane, raw, is bringing jam to vehicles going to Entebbe road, going to Entebbe. He's actually blocking the economy
with sugar cane.
With sugar cane, charcoal. We don't have people must wake up now. The parents, it begins down there. Down there. The quality of the people, look at them. You just see weak people. You just see people who are not creative. And all this is education. I don't know whether some people out there are feeling what I'm saying here. Countries are on speed. China is looking at building young people into robots to control the world.
But what are we building our children to be?
Exactly. Now, the people engineering education, what type of Uganda do you want to see in 30 years? Because we don't have the good laws. The parliament is half-baked. Every Ugandan is half-baked. And so you talk about middle-income economy. In my view, I would think we should now talk about super nation, super first world country. And that requires very good teachers, not this generation of teachers. They don't know what laws are. They don't know, even they are not patriotic.
What is wrong with them? Let's start there.
I think
because for us to find a solution, Kambura, we must identify the problem.
Yes.
What is the problem? And in terms of education, let's stick to it. What is the problem with the education system? Starting with the teachers, the taught, and the people. Or let's look at all stakeholders, actually.
Yes, sir. First and foremost, I hope you will not get me
out of context.
Out of context.
No, I don't
but
think so.
As a patriotic Ugandan who looks to see a future, because this thing of massaging each other should stop. That nonsense of speaking so that you are happy. No. For us, we have to talk so that our children are safe, that we secure their future. So the question you have asked is critical. The issue is our education, is that some huge population, the stakeholders are divided. One group is saying, no, we need a robust, a revolutionary education to help our young people also maneuver in the disruptions of the economy today and in the future. The future dynamics they are going to be changing, just like the way you have Samsung S1, S2. Every year there is a new. That's how how the economy.
They must change with
and
times.
The education must be changing like the way we change phones. Because the
iPhone 10, iPhone 11, iPhone Pro, now 12 Pro, you know.
Even vehicles the same. Even the suits look the way you look handsome, you look smart. The design is not for last year. And the world, now, the people who are seated, the first problem is that the people seated on education in the country are living in the 1900. They are not thinking the way I'm thinking. And so the leadership in the Ministry of Education, the people up to down, I'm talking about the parents, they are part of education.
The parents?
The parents.
They're not asking for what
but they fed on the wrong milk. The colonial education system is what I must first blame. We all fed on that wrong milk. Then the Ngalabi, some of my colleagues say the Ngalabi, the software, it did not allow the African man and woman to be creative, to be curious, to be innovative, because we have all the gold, we have all the mineral resources. So Africa is just like a dumping place of what doesn't work abroad, you know, and we are just here feeding the rest of the world with raw materials. But look, we can manufacture our own clothes, our own underwears. We can. You just look around that. Just where you are, just look into your house, if you're in the house right now.
What is made from Uganda?
What is made from Uganda? And if it is not made from Uganda, it means the people in the other country are the one who make everything, and it means they are the one with the employment. Now, it simply means, my brother, that we got to now shift, remove the wrong people from these offices, bring robust and focused and visionary and creative leaders of education to take over. Because when you don't allow that painful decision, it means you are not going to have a quality population. And when you don't have a quality population, tax collection will be low. Just like Northern Ireland, my brother. It is a country of just 5 million people. But their GDP is bigger than ours, like 10 times, combining all the Ugandans, Kenyans, Burundis, DRC, and they are the one funding us here. So the quality
5 million people
only, but we are 170 plus. Then you add the 80 million people from DRC, we are talking about 200 plus. And ours just consume, we just consume what is coming. We don't produce. So just like the Bible says, if you don't work, my brother and my sister, you don't eat. So we are not supposed to eat. We are just supposed to be either eliminated so that a new generation is built. But if we cannot do that, of course, the Bible does not allow us. Let us now focus on changing education. 20 years we prepare a new generation, because me and you, we cannot build a first world country. No, it can't happen. Because the engine, what is in the brain, the vision, we even don't know good road. Some MPs and presidential candidates were saying, yeah, we are bringing new roads, we want to challenge Museveni. But the pictures in their posters show the roads of these same roads. And I said, look at these fools. Museveni has tried to build roads in his generation. That's what he understands. But a man or a woman of 20 years, you know the type of roads I'm talking about, my brother. I won't say so much here. We are talking about flying cars. I'm talking about houses which are offices are going to be in the space.
Underground, trains, what?
We're supposed to have trains passing through these powerful buildings.
Someone can leave Guru to work in Kampala and go back.
The moment you don't have education, that will be just talking. We go to America, we admire. China, we admire. We come back. Chinese come and make our roads. We study engineering, but they cannot even apply what they are studying.
People study engineering in Uganda and they can't even repair a blender.
That's the critical thing. So education, before, I think we must have Orusirika.
As a country?
As a country.
A retreat?
A retreat of because the teacher, the parent, everybody's to blame. I'm not talking about my friend Baguma Grace, the director of National Curriculum Development Center. She's a very good leader. But they are opposing her when she talks about these things. Even in Parliament, they say, even the curriculum is still good. We are here because of the old curriculum.
To study Rhinelands in German, which are no longer there.
Can you imagine? You find the MP, the product is now in the Parliament. The guy says, I came here to eat, my brother, don't talk about it. Then you say, my brother, what will you tell the voters? Say, they know I came to eat. And he said he wants to eat, and people voted him. So what we're talking about here is a time bomb, my colleague. Is that we must go to Rusirika. And I wish we have the Rusirika, the schools, yes, can go on, but to get them Rusirika, what type of children, what type of population do we want in the next 20 years? Then when we know this is the type of population, then we also ask ourselves, what type of cities do we want? What type of agricultural sector do we want? What type of economy do we want? The security. Comparing that picture with the first world countries, because we're in a competition here. We are not joking. We have, yes, the minerals, we have everything. Then when we have the vision of a country we want, forget about Vision 2030, it is tomorrow. We got to have now a robust Vision 2070. So because a vision, you must not put it there to achieve it in your lifetime. Every political party should be focusing there. Religious leaders should be focusing there. Everybody, even the children who are not yet born.
National vision.
National vision.
Common for everyone.
When I received a call from UBC, immediately I had to put on my suit immediately on national service.
Yes.
I didn't ask, please, Jamu.
Attitude.
Immediately.
Attitude.
Exactly. Now Ugandans are sleeping. Right now they are still sleeping. When it is 7, they are drinking. The money they made during the day, they don't even what we call investment. So you cannot build a country, you say, because dependency, we are beggars. This country belongs to someone else. Africa is on sale, just as usual.
Oh, really?
The second slave trade is coming in. Neocolonialism is active. Cold War is in Africa now.
Let me ask you a question, Milton.
Yes, sir.
Having said all this, and for us to be well to assess the impact of education on labor quality and, of course, production, because this is what will deliver us to wherever I want, the quality of labor, quality of production. There is the aspect of politics. Up till today, we have politics even as early as nursery. That you see toddlers going to pre-primary and they are discussing politics. One will tell you, you know, Daddy, this person is doing this. Then say these people power. Me, I am as early as that. Now, how does politics shape quality, labor, and production?
What is here, my brother, is actually not politics. What is here is intentional greed, intentional terrorism, intentional maneuver to just kill a nation. Someone intentionally say, let me kill the country. Like, for not to feel away, let us, all of us, lose. I don't mind. You get the point? Now, if it was politics, it would be different, because politics is a science of managing and transforming society. Through debate, through dialogue, through negotiation of different voices. But here I'm talking about people who are just like terrorists, to fear away the people that we have on the table. So, to answer your point much clear, is that we got to now fix the issue of having what we call an educational philosophy before you start the chemistry. The child in nursery school, in primary, must be told that this is the national educational philosophy, which is going to help us build a new country. Uganda can become the superpower of the whole world because it is the pearl of Africa. Even everyone, Churchill, the former prime minister, said it, that he has walked the whole world. Uganda is the pearl of Africa. They have the parliament, they have culture, they have innovations, they have leadership, they have unity, they have peace, they have leadership. They said, okay. When he reached in parliament in the UK, he said, concentrate on Uganda.
Focus.
Oh, some people really don't know what I'm talking about here. He told the UK parliament, he said, gentlemen and ladies, UK, let us focus on Uganda. Because Uganda can become the best, because they have everything.
Is it what is happening today?
What is happening today, the last so many years, we have had generations. First, we forgot our curriculum. By that time, Africa got to Tumpuku, to go to Egypt, you will see that we built this pyramid. It means we had science at the beginning. We had physics. We were making our own medicine. Look at countries in Ghana. We are talking about 6,000 years ago. They had cities. We are talking about South Africa. The mining sector was vibrant. I have a king, Mwasa Musa. Mwasa Musa, this was the richest man when he actually visited Saudi Arabia. His visit, just one visit, caused the inflation for more than 3 years.
Let me just also remind our viewers, Kambura, about that the topic we are discussing, you could be part of it by calling into our lines, studio lines at 0702 23 24 25. Again, 0702 23 24 25. Call in and give us your opinions in terms of education and development. Now we're looking at the impact of the kind of education we have in terms of labor, but also production. Yes, Milton. Now, comparing Uganda and Africa at large, are we any different? Is it an African problem? I was discussing with Ndugu Semakula Jagenda some time back, and we're asking him, is this a Pan-African problem? When you look at Pan-Africans earlier, the Kwame Nkrumahs, the Kahundas, even the Musevenis, the Mugabes of this world, their vision was to liberate Africa from the white man, and they have achieved. Even the most recent president of Chad, who has passed on, may he rest in peace, all their dream was to liberate Africa. What is the dream of this generation? Shouldn't it be to move now to traject further than liberation and move further into probably industrialization, production, just to mention? Is it an African problem, or it is probably just Uganda?
This is an African problem, I must say that the kings did not help us. For them, they focused on those things I have told you. Africa before the birth of Jesus was the safest place, the most industrious place, the most peaceful place. And this history has been deleted from the curriculum. We even don't know where we came from. We don't know who we were. You can imagine someone need to be arrested. We must actually look for who
but
should
they said
carry
you
the
came
blame.
from chimpanzees and monkeys.
Okay, we came from chimpanzees, but by that time that chimpanzee knew before UK built what we see today.
But how does a chimpanzee become a person? Why are these ones not becoming persons?
Exactly.
Okay.
That is another one for another day. But what I'm saying here is Africa, we fed on the same milk. We were all colonized. It means that all that we consumed.
Mimito, let's just pick up this caller and also. Hello? Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning. Who are we talking to?
Mama Loban.
Come again?
Mama Loban.
Okay, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Okay,
what's your contribution in terms of education and development?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead. Okay, I think we lost that one. Yes, Milton.
So what I can say is that we all fed on a very wrong curriculum, which shaped a new type of people who should become prey for our colonial masters, even when they had left the continent. So in terms of independence, the first thing that the Kwame Nkrumahs would have done, because yes, they won this battle, but they celebrated before actually launching what would shape the new Africa.
To have a full realization of the dream.
Exactly. There was no need for Africa to celebrate before the launch of a Pan-African educational model.
Oh, yes.
That would actually produce a Pan-African economy, that would produce a Pan-African integration system on security, that would produce a Pan-African innovation and actually cross-border business alignments. Mm-hmm. What I'm talking about here, colleagues, is that I'm the only guy who can come out and tell you that there was no need to celebrate independence. Because up to today, because of that mistake, we don't need to even we have never been independent.
For example, you talk about Pan-Africanism and you have an integration like East Africa and other countries closing the borders.
That is stupidity. That shows you that I'm talking about things that I know. Because everyone feels this is my country, the other one is small district, community, tribe, religion.
Let's just take this caller, Milton. Yes. Hello, good morning. Hello. Okay, yes.
So the future of Africa, for us to realize a new Africa, of course for us, I think we will not even see it, but our children. Mm-hmm. That is why I'm saying on the International Labor Day, let us focus on launching new education frontiers, a new curriculum for a parent at home. Parents are absent. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of family breakdown, conflicts that won't allow us to nurture global citizens in the future. Because the parent doesn't know what to do. The father is also ignorant. They don't know that a bedroom of a child in the 21st century should become a launch pad for innovations, not for sleeping only. I don't know if you have got what I'm just saying. I'm saying the home is like a launch pad for our children of the 21st century.
Yes.
A home is no longer just a home of sleeping and producing babies. No. I'm talking about a home is the incubation center.
Of innovative minds.
For talents, champions, more and innovative leadership. Because the school will not teach your child values, my friend, my brother. They are not teaching integrity. There is no subject called integrity in the school, my brother. So let your home become the incubation center for character development.
Yes.
Whereby each one of you are working towards achieving that vision that in the next 5 years, our child must be walking like this, must be behaving like this, must be responding to climate change, must be able to serve the community by producing products that can be consumed by the community. That is now a curriculum for the family at home. And when they do their part, the school is also a launch pad for now subjects, chemistry, physics, agriculture in the field. You can imagine a school has 100 acres. But the school still buys food from Owino. What type of people are these? We must chase them from our schools. And the students are studying mulching in the classroom. They even don't know chicken.
And they have 100 acres.
100 acres. He's actually lending the 100 acres to the community among themselves. But the students are malnourished.
They don't know a rabbit.
They call Americans, please help us. We are lacking food at our school. Stupid. You must be arrested immediately. These are because children must learn through working, through production. And so what I'm talking about here on the national television is that I am very angry.
What's making you very angry?
I see production of people, 45 million people, but they're all empty. Oh my Jesus.
A man riding sugar canes broke a highway.
The whole economy is breaking the whole economy.
To a national airport.
To the national airport. And investor is coming.
Sugar
he needs a robust road. 5 minutes he's in State House. He's at the ministry. They're signing
and at
papers.
Queens where there's a man crossing with sugar cane, you have to wait for him to pass.
It annoys me. People are still dying of jiggers. Now, which type of leaders do we have in this country?
But we have a parliament.
This parliament is, they are all disabled.
Are they?
We have disabled people in parliament. Actually, we no longer need this parliament. If I was the president, I say to be a member of parliament, please, the salary is 5,000 shillings.
A month?
A month.
Taxed or not
We
taxed?
are not looking, this is not employment. Did I ask UBC for transport? No. Call Milton Ambassador, please come. You're a scientist. I jumped in my car. I'm here.
No one is paying you.
This is what we call patriotism. We need to cut down the salary of these fools here immediately to zero because they seem to turn leadership into business. And the moment you have wrong leaders in those positions, there is nothing that you will achieve as a country.
Everything is disabled.
The next thing, you cut down all these cars. We don't manufacture cars here.
Actually,
they should first manufacture Ugandan cars that they
were given, I think, 300 million.
Oh my God, that is too much money, my brother.
And now they are over 500.
Have you gone to Mulago? Mulago, the road is pothole. They are actually swimming pools. In the city, we don't have a city here. And you are spending 300 million per MP. Are we joking here? This is a joke. I think we got to have a dictator now, a development dictator, to beat us, to take us where we belong, to reduce people in the city. I'm coming to do what? This is a capital city. You don't just go to London.
Milton, I want you to send your last comment to our viewers. And I know whatever you're saying is quite robust and should steer some change. It should steer and interest people to become better. I do agree with what you're saying entirely and 100% and even plus, for we are definitely doing bad in terms of attitude. Milton, your last statements as we conclude.
My last statement, of course, sometimes I feel, oh my God, but peace, my friend. We got to sit down beyond religions, because these are all foreign religions. So what is the reason for us to fight along religions? Tribes, nationalities. We have enough. God has blessed us. We have enough. Let us sit on a round table. You say, I don't know this, but I can do this. Yes, for the sake of the future of our children, I think let us agree. This curriculum, we can support it, we can finance it. We kind of think together as a nation, as Africa, not just even as a nation. This is the future. Integration is our future. But then we cannot achieve integration when your neighbor, because people talk about Africa's integration. But as a family, your neighbors, do you wake up early morning to go and say, hey, neighbor, you okay? Can we make our road clean today? You know, this is where it begins. And it was a Pan-African value. So the last one, I would call for the entire government system, the whole government system, without fear or favor, let us withdraw some people from offices. Because if we are talking about 2030, which is just a few years from now, when we are assessing the performance of you people in these offices, when we are assessing whether we should remember you for good or for bad, for just wasting our time, this is the time to make those hard decisions. And you put the right people. Younger people should be the one involved in designing their curriculum of the future that looks like them. Younger people are ready to move, but they are stuck. We are stuck like this. Stuck. And that's why we are complaining. We are ready to make phones, to manufacture cars, to build those roads. But Someone is the head of a department, you take your proposal there. The man has turned the office as a land dealing office. The man is never there. You just see a suit is in the office. The guy has never, he only comes to report. Then they say, yeah, he was around. But the guy is not there.
Okay.
So I thank you. Education, education, education. It is the only hope we have to have quality population that will produce the enough tax to build infrastructure, that will help us get out of donations and surviving on muzungu money. When someone comes investor, you all focus on the muzungu. But the Ugandans can become the investors. We don't need muzungu and their money. We have to produce everything here. We have the capacity. We need the technology. Yes, we can buy, but it is the Uganda to build the country.
Okay. It would be very unfair for me to add anything on what my brother Ndugu Milton has put. Now, for some of you who are interested to make change, and mostly this is for your own good, prepare the state, the country, the community, the home, the family, the residence that you would want your child, your grandchildren to live in, but it will take some effort. That is it from us here on Good Morning Uganda, UBC, and of course our Good Morning Uganda agenda. Thank you so much, Milton, for finding time to come.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much. That was quite a mouthful. And I will now take a break, but remember also after us, we'll be having Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Experience 100% 4G speeds across Uganda with the Airtel 4G Pocket Wi-Fi available at 123,000 shillings only. It comes with a backup battery and 15 GB free for 1 month. Visit the nearest Airtel shop, device selling shop, or Airtel online shop. www.airtel.co.ug.